Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I have a crazy exciting video for you guys. I don't even know if you could tell by the sound of my voice that I am so excited to show you guys this tutorial. I had so much fun making this design. Like at every point I was like, dang, I did that, you know? So here we go. Right now, I am just going to show you my prep process. Now, keep in mind, I do not always do prep because I do my nails so frequently that there's literally just no need. But I hadn't done my nails for like 2 weeks up until this point, so definitely was in need for some like cuticle nipping, you know? So what I'm using right here is my Flame Bit by Melody Susie. I use it in both reverse and backwards. Another thing that I started doing was this technique right here. They do this a lot with Russian manicures and I had never done it, but now that I am doing it, I'm like, wow, what I've been missing out. Okay, because the way that it lifts your dead skin to clearly see what needs to be nipped is incredible. Like, I will be doing this forever. The only thing is that you want to make sure that you're holding your bit at the right angle. Otherwise, you can totally like drill into your like nail plate, and we don't want to do that. We want to stay safe. So just keep that in mind if you are going to try out this technique. Next, I'm just going to take my cuticle nippers and start nipping away at all of that dead skin. Now, something that you can do that we shouldn't do it all the time. Like, absolutely buy a new set of nippers when they get too dull. But, you know, sometimes we're on a budget. And I only recommend this if these are the nippers, like your personal nippers. Don't use the nippers that you use for clients. But when they get a little bit dull, you can grab a piece of aluminum foil, fold it a couple times, and start nipping away at the edges of that aluminum foil, and it will slightly sharpen the nippers for you. Now, is it going to be as sharp as a new set of nippers? Absolutely not. But sometimes you just need to push those nippers a little bit more to their full potential until you completely toss them. So that is something that you can absolutely do just to give them a little extra like sharpness. Next, I went ahead with my 240 hand file grit, and I'm just going to shorten those edges, or my free edge, a little bit, 1 and 2. I'm also trying to shape my free edge a little bit better to fit the nail form better as well, because if it fits the nail form a little bit better, it will be much more snug and your structure is just going to be better. You have less chance of acrylic seeping underneath the free edge. Like when we want it to fit like a glove, that's what I mean. So shaping my free edge a little bit more will definitely do that for me. Now this is what they're looking like now. And then after I applied my nail form, I went in with Rosé by Valentino Acrylic. This is not my favorite shade, you guys. By no means. It's definitely got like an orangey tone to it that I am not fond of. However, the reason I picked this acrylic shade is because it's going to be completely covered, and I didn't want to waste my favorite acrylic if it was just going to get covered anyways. Does that make sense? So I chose this acrylic. I'd never used it before. Like I said, definitely not my favorite, but it absolutely got the job done. Right here, I was absolutely loving the application. Look at how gorgeous she was. It was one of those moments where I was like, dang, okay, you know. But right now, I just want to share with you some of my little, I wouldn't call them tips and tricks, but just some advice when it comes to your acrylic application that I had to learn on my own. One of them being is that when you are applying your acrylic, you notice that once you start tapping out your bead, it starts to spurse out sideways and it can get a little bit of annoying. So what I found is that if I apply that same bead closer to my cuticle area, not on the cuticle, but like just near it, that when it does start to spurse outward, then I'm doing the most damage with that one acrylic bead, because that bead is going to cover the entirety of my free edge. And I don't have to go back and try to then cover what wasn't covered in the beginning, because what they teach you in school is to put that acrylic bead right on your free edge. Well, it's a little bit harder to tap it out sideways than it is to just tap it at the top and let it naturally like spurse outward and cover it on its own, cover that free edge on its own. So if you put it right at the free edge, you have to do a little bit more work to get it to cover sidewall to sidewall, versus just putting it a little bit closer to the cuticle and tapping it out, and it'll naturally just do that for you. So here I go again. I'm going to put this bead a little bit closer to my cuticle, and once I start tapping it out, you saw how it just naturally flowed sideways. Now I don't have to worry about covering my free edge because it just did it on its own. The other thing that I want to mention is when to wipe your brush to avoid the acrylic getting stuck. You notice that was my first time I wiped my brush right there. That's because the acrylic was very wet up until that point. Once it starts getting sticky and stiff, I shouldn't say sticky, but once it starts getting stiff where it's not like flowing down the nail as freely, you want to start wiping, because what's happening is it's starting to get sticky and you don't want it to get stuck in the bristles. One thing too is that I think a lot of beginners, when they're working with acrylic, is like, well, I already wiped my brush, I'm gonna just keep playing with it, playing with the like acrylic. And absolutely not. When I tell you, if you have to think about, oh, should I wipe my brush, you should absolutely wipe it. You can never wipe your brush too many times when it comes to acrylic. Just think the more you wipe it, the less chance you have of acrylic getting stuck in the bristles. So again, right here, it's really, really wet, and once it starts to like not move down the nail as much, I'm already wiping, and I'll tap, tap, wipe. Tap, tap, wipe, and I wipe both sides. Not always, but I tend to wipe both sides of my brush because I have this habit of flipping between both sides when I'm tapping out my acrylic. So whatever works for you, you just want to make sure that you are wiping that brush as much as possible. So I want to take this time to share some very exciting things that are going to be coming to the channel. And I've been wanting to do this for a while, and it's finally happening. So I will be offering memberships for the channel. And before you guys are like, ooh, memberships, like, right? This is going to be a little bit different. What I'm offering is the chance for it to be incredibly hands-on with what happens in the channel and the designs I create. So when you become a member, one, you get the chance to be selected once a month, and I will recreate whatever design you choose, and I will film the whole thing. You'll get to see how to create it, little tips and tricks that I learned along the way, so that way if you want to recreate it, you can learn from my mistakes. Another thing that I am offering is in the membership tabs, I will allow you to decide if you want the set that I'm working on to be matte or glossy, green or blue, almond or stiletto. And I want to open it up to the community for you guys to be able to chat amongst yourselves as well. So I want it to be incredibly hands-on. I want everyone to be as involved as possible. So once you sign up for a membership, just be sure to click the link below in the description or check my YouTube channel's bio for the link. And the link is essentially so that I could just get your username, your name, and your email address. And that's how I will be cross-checking active members to select that month's winner. After my acrylic application, it was time to start shaping and filing. So I am going in with my carbide bit by Melody Susie, and I'm going at a speed of about 12 to 15,000 RPMs. I know that that's a little bit high. Most nail techs will stay at 10,000. I like to work a little bit faster, and I feel really, really comfortable at that speed. If you're not comfortable at that speed, do not do that at that speed. Definitely stay at around 10,000 RPMs. Anything slower than 10,000 RPMs, you will just essentially start digging into the product, and you're gonna get these like dents in your products, and you don't want that. 10,000 to 15,000 RPMs, it's just going to glide and cut through that product like it's nothing. Next, I'm taking my Tammy Taylor peel and stick files, and I'm using the 100 grit, and I'm just gonna go in and fine tune the shape a little bit more. You can absolutely use a 180 grit. They come in 100 and 180. I just find that with the 180 grit, and I don't mean the Tammy Taylor brand, I just mean in general, like if you're gonna use a 180 hand file to shape acrylic, one, it just takes longer, and two, the shape just isn't as sharp as it could be. Going in with a 100 grit saves you time, it saves your hand, and the shape is just so much better. If you haven't tried it out, definitely do that. And if you feel like the grit is just a little bit too rough for you, or you feel like it's cutting into your skin a little bit too much, definitely make sure that you are prepping your file. Sometimes what happens is that the hand files have like these sharp edges or sharp little nicks around where you would be filing your sidewall, and that little nick can cut you. So if you're gonna prep your hand file, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take the hand file you're gonna use in one brush or in one hand, take the other hand file in another hand, and you're literally gonna file away the edges. It doesn't take much. Literally just go 1, 2, 3 on each side, and you're taking away all of those hard little nicks that might be sticking out from the hand file, and it will be so much smoother to hand file around your sidewalls. All right, now we can do some nail art. So what I'm doing right now is covering every single nail in black. Like I said earlier, I chose to use that acrylic shade because I was going to be covering every single nail. And the black that I'm using is by Beetles. And when I tell you that I was completely shocked at how good the coverage was, and maybe it's because I'm doing this over acrylic, so don't quote me. I have not tried this over natural nails to see like if it's really pigmented or if it's sheer, but putting this over acrylic, the coverage was great. I only did one coat and they were super black. I was really pleased. So this will be in my Amazon storefront, and you can also find it linked down below. The next thing I did was start working on the snake design for my index finger and my pinky. What I'm doing is applying Blossom Gel using the Not Polished brand, and it's essentially blooming gel, but they just call it Blossom Gel. And when you do this, you want to apply a super thin layer. So you see me kind of like wiping the layer off and putting it back in the bottle. It's because the more or the thicker the layer or the thicker the coat of polish that you put on, once you start adding more polish to it to do this design, it will get bulky and it's gonna spread out way too fast. You have no control over it. So make sure you're doing super thin coats. Then I am taking a 12mm liner brush with this shade of brown. This brown is also by Beetles, and I do this method twice. So once this is all said and done and I fully cure it for 60 seconds, I repeat the process with a different shade, and you'll see what I mean in a second. So now that that first layer is done, this is what it's looking like. I'll put it in the lamp to cure for 60 seconds, and then I apply another layer of Blossom Gel right on top. Now, if you are worried about messing up the design and needing to wipe it off, apply matte top coat before you go in for your second layer of Blossom Gel. That way, if you do have to wipe it off before curing it, you don't mess up the first layer of brown underneath. But it was go big or go home for me. So I just went in with the second layer of Blossom Gel, and I repeat the process using a lighter shade of brown just to give it a little bit more dimension. Okay, now what I'm going to do is give it a really cool snake texture, like literal texture. So what you have to do is grab top coat, not base coat, not matte top coat, shiny top coat. And you're gonna do a super thin layer. On the side, you're already gonna have prepared your bubbles. I just took some dish soap and a little tiny bit of water, not a lot of water, just a little bit, and you shake the bottle, and obviously you're gonna get bubbles. Don't cure the top coat, okay? Open the bottle and start applying the bubbles to the wet top coat. And I made a hot mess of this because this was my absolute first time doing this, and I had no idea what I was doing. So definitely, if you're gonna do this, use a bigger cup with a bigger hole in it. That way you don't make a big mess like I do right here. But once that's all said and done, you want to cure it. Cure it with the bubbles on top. It's much easier to do if you have a handheld light like this. That way you're not putting all of that wet soap inside your actual nail lamp. And then wipe it off. Now, when I wiped it off, I used a lint-free wipe thinking it was going to be all said and done, but it is so, like, I don't even want to say textured. It just leaves this hard, like, little pricks sticking up, and it started to grab onto my lint-free wipe and tear it apart. So I had to take a brush and start, like, dusting off all of the wipes or the lint. Guys, you know what I'm trying to say. That was stuck on the texture. So don't do it that way. You can just take a brush or like a normal towel, I guess, and lightly dab away the bubbles. Don't wipe them away because then all of that will get like stuck to the nails. This is what the snake texture looks like. I think it looks so cool. I was obsessed with it at this point. The next thing that I go to do though is an ombre on the remaining nails. Now I got this ombre gel kit off of Amazon, and I definitely want to get more because I have found myself wanting to use it more frequently, but I just don't have all of the colors that I need. Otherwise, totally worth it. I love it. And what I have found to be the most helpful is when you pick up your product, you want to like dab it evenly into the sponge and then go to a clean area on your palette and keep dabbing. That way when you go to actually put it on the nail, it looks like an ombre and not like you're using an ombre brush. You know what I mean? Because when you use an ombre brush, you get these like lines and textures and you can see it. It doesn't look airbrushed. But if you, before putting the product on your nail, go to a clean area on your palette and just keep smashing the sponge on the clean area, when you finally go to put it on your nail, it will give you for sure that ombre airbrushed look. Now, I did that method a couple of times. I think I did it like 4 times, and I just flash cure it for 15 seconds and then go back and repeat the ombre. Once I fully cured in the light, I moved on to my thumb. So this is a cat eye gel polish by Goi. I will leave the exact shade down below because I can't remember it off of the top of my head. but I wanted to do like a cool dragon cat eye on this nail. So I'm just going to clean up my edges a little bit with my cleanup brush. And then I actually do take an ombre brush and start fanning out the edges. The reason why it was okay to do this was because the edges were going to be so blended after I put my top coat in, you weren't going to see them at all. So that's what I did here. Once I got the eye to look how I wanted, I took some white liner gel with a dotting tool and added a little tiny white dot at the top corner of the eye, and then I matte top coated the whole thing. Next, I took that same black gel polish by Beetles with my 20mm liner brush, and I created these really cool like circles around the eye, and they're incredibly thin. You don't want them to be thick because if it doesn't cure properly, then you can totally rub off the whole gel polish with your chrome. So make your lines as thin as possible, and then I cure them in the light for 30 seconds, and then I apply my chrome. Once I finished applying my chrome, one thing I didn't show was that I applied I applied glossy top coat to the chrome area, not to the entire nail, just to whatever I covered in chrome. And that protects it from being rubbed off whenever I continue to work on the nail, because I wasn't completely done, but I did want to encapsulate, I guess for lack of better term, the stones that I was putting on with glossy polish as well, because that just gives it an extra hold, because the rhinestone glue will not hold it like for the long term. So after you apply your rhinestone glue, that's when you can apply your glossy top coat all around, and that'll hold the rhinestones in place much better. The next thing I wanted to do was add some 3D chrome designs to my index finger, ring finger, and pinky. And I'm using the Macart solid nail glue, and I just took a bunch of it. As you can see on my paper, I have a whole bunch, and I use almost all of it throughout the video. But what I'm doing is rolling it out into like this little snake cylinder, whatever you want to call it, like a caterpillar, almost like you're playing with Play-Doh. When you are making really long like lines like this though, I have found that the best thing to do is roll it in your palm versus using your fingertips, because your fingertips will leave these little like camel humps all over the line and it'll look weird, versus your palm is much more flat and even all throughout, so using your palm will give you an even line. Then what I'm going to do is just wrap it around the fingernail, and before I cure it, I'm going to take my silicone tool and cut off the edges that wrap underneath the nail. To do the chrome on the 3D design, it's the same, but it's also a little bit different. So you're still going to put black polish, you're still going to cure that polish for 30 seconds and rub the chrome on it. However, we have this like, oh, I got to get all the little spots so the chrome can stick to it. Like, no, don't worry about that. You can get the top and the sides. Do not try to get underneath that 3D design, because that's when it starts to look messy, because the black gel polish will stick to the actual like nail and it'll blot out and it's not gonna look nice. I do make that mistake once or twice in the video, so if you pay attention you'll see me go back and clean it up, because once you see it you're gonna be like, oh yeah, that's what she was talking about. So you want to get on the top and on the sides, but you do not need to get like right in those crevices underneath the nail, because the chrome will cover that part and you're not even going to be able to tell that it wasn't covered in black. I just cover the 3D design in black because if I don't and I just throw chrome right on top of this, it'll look chrome. It just won't look as chrome, as gold and like beautiful as it could be. Like I mentioned before, when you're working on an isolated chrome design, what you want to do is apply top coat to that chrome. Now you could apply matte top coat, it's just I wanted it glossy, so I went ahead and applied glossy top coat only to the chrome area, or like the chrome design. This is what my nails were looking like so far, and I was loving it. So it was time to do the last nail, which was the snake. So I went ahead and rolled out a super long piece of solid nail glue with my palms, remember, not with our fingertips. And I did these like squiggly back and forth lines. At this point, I had been using this product for so long that it was sticking to my glove. So whenever you're going to use this product, definitely wear gloves. Not just this product, but like any like products, because remember, they all have chemicals, and if it's touching your skin long enough, you can get an allergic reaction. So wear gloves. To finalize the shape of the snake though, I'm taking acetone on a brush and just making those lines a little bit smoother around the edges. This orange that I'm using is by D&D. It's either called Summer Sun or Summer Sunset, but I will leave it linked down below so you guys could check it out. And I cover the entire snake in this orange, and then I take black gel polish on a dotting tool and just start adding little like dotted patterns around the snake. Now, to give the snake an actual like snake textured pattern, you want to take whatever tool you have with this type of pattern on it. Doesn't have to be exactly the same, but just something similar. And you're going to take some more solid nail glue or 3D sculpting gel, whatever you got, and you're going to cover the nail or the snake completely. It's like double layering the snake. Imagine you're using it as a glossy top coat, if you will. And you're just gonna pat it in all around. Once it's all patted in and it looks literally just like a glossy top coat, like a second layer of snake skin, that's when you can take that tool and you're gonna roll it over the solid nail glue. So don't cure the solid nail glue, leave it like uncured and wet and just roll it right over. You don't have to roll too hard, just enough so that you can see the pattern in the snake. This was the final design and I was so obsessed. It was so cute. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys learned a lot in this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.